time, people counting me out, put their mouth on me, I moved in self-doubt. I come to know it's not what they say, but what I believe, that God's my faith. I don't need you to validate me. I know who I am, I'm created to be a light that reflects what my eyes dare to see, or the greatness I possess, endless possibility. Look in the mirror, what do I see? There is no time or any space for the outside noise that run the rat race. Poisonous lips spewing self-hate, detentions and killings, they all resemble my face. Rise up in love, take your rightful place. You're a royal priesthood and you were born this way. And we must fight our way through the darkest night. Guide us to reflect on that infinite light.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. This is going to be an exciting one. I'm happy for it. I am extremely happy for today's conversation. I'm happy for all my conversations, to be honest with you, because we're growing. We're growing together with this information. So welcome to Seek Elevation, the Seek Elevation experience with yours truly, attorney Lakeisha. I'm an attorney, but I'm not giving you legal advice in these conversations. I'm giving you education. Sometimes it involves legal stuff. A lot of times it does, because legal touches everything. But it's education and not advice. If you need advice, you have to contact an attorney personally, me or somebody else. But here, when you're here, this is where real issues, real people, and real conversations take center stage, because change does not happen in silence. From sports and entertainment to business and community, we break it down. We break down the truth. We spark meaningful change and elevate voices that need to be heard. That need to be heard by you all, the listeners, the viewers, and when you also participate as a commenters. So in this space, we don't just talk, though. We don't just talk. We empower, we inspire, and we challenge the status quo. So whether you're an athlete or an entertainer, a business leader, or just someone striving for a better life, these conversations right here on Seek Elevation, they are for you. These are for individuals that are seeking for an environment of growth, to break strongholds, to actually start seeing things take place. We go from education to activation here. So we're going to get into it. Today's topic is ownership over fame, how entertainers and athletes can build leverage, but it goes deeper than that, right? Because the same way entertainers, athletes, creatives, the same way they all build leverage, that's how we all can build leverage, from our talent. And not just using our talent to produce a product or service and continue to just do that, but to build leverage with it. So that's what we're going to talk about, and insert here, wherever it is that you're doing, you can insert yourself in that situation as well. But the one thing I do want to make sure is, because last week it was a little mishap with our guest being behind stage, a different stage, but I didn't see them. But I got confirmation that they will be logging on soon. So I'm going to get into my little spiel. I won't get into it too long, though, because once they're on, I want to bring them on. I want this to be about our guest speaker time primarily. But I do want to do my thing like I, usually do. And I want to just talk about some research because that's what's important to me. I do some research to try to just bring home whatever topic we are talking about. And this one was pretty easy for me. Well, actually, it was kind of hard. It was easy because I deal with this topic all the time, but it was hard because I just didn't know how to narrow down what to bring to the table to help bring this message home. So what actually helped me was to just think about two very impactful people, but ones that I look at and I'm like, I shake my head, yes, for varying reasons. But I am a huge fan of Michael Jackson. Anybody that knows me will tell you that. And I think his story his life story is a good example of this, ownership, fame, using your leverage and all that great stuff. There was a documentary that I watched with Michael Jackson. I know there's many stories out there about his life. There's many documentaries about things he's done, but this was a documentary I watched literally with him in it, and it was about his life. I'm trying to remember what it was called, and it had his security guards in there, showed him, during Christmas when Liz Taylor came over. Hello, good evening. Yes. I'm excited for the great info that we're going to share. And I watched it. And it was just so heavy, right? We see all the great stuff when we look at celebrated individuals. We see all the things that we're supposed to see. Sometimes we may hear some other stuff that is tea. But watching his documentary was like a really deep insight on this whole issue that we keep dealing with. I mean, we'll have many celebrities who reach, incredible heights of fame. That part's not hard. You have most of them reach incredible heights of fame because fame is thrown at people, right? That's what you want, fame. Get it. You want everybody to know you, know your name, get out there. So incredible heights of fame. And then we also have some who have reached great heights of fortune, but did not manage their monies well, their wealth wisely. And my man Michael was one that really shocked me because of the height that he did rise to when it comes to fortune, not just fame, but fortune. And the documentary was exposing some stuff like that. There's a video that is on YouTube showing Michael when he was like he spent like $5 million in 45 seconds. I think that's what the video was even called. And it's an excerpt from the documentary, a different documentary called Living with Michael Jackson. But just, spending money. And he had dealt with a lot of financial troubles actually beginning in the 1990s when I seen it. I never knew that, watching from the outside in, I wouldn't have thunk that. But it actually began in the early 90s, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse. And sometime when we see these celebrities out here and they're touring or they're probably still acting well into the age or whatever, sometimes they're doing it not because they want to, but because they have to. And when I started learning more information about Michael and his financial troubles, it made me start thinking about him touring when he didn't want to, especially when it was showing his body, he was really ill, like, I mean, hurting, taking medication to mask the pain and still do what, he needed to do. I just thought it was because of love of it. But no, I mean, when the time of his death, when he passed, he was actually over $500 million in debt. And I know a lot of people may say, well, listen, he owned catalog. We know he owned the Beatles catalog, right? We know that he owned that. So how in the world? Well, what I found out is beyond like his personal expenses and things he was doing, he was making risky financial decisions, but he would use his catalog as collateral for massive loans. And then when I was watching that documentary as well, and the security guards were talking, there were periods of times where his staff or people that work for him weren't getting paid, and he would say, I'm going to pay you, this loan's going to come through. There was just a lot going on there, a lot. So someone who actually hit the billion mark was dealing with this and still using fame and not really managing the leverage, not just of his fame, but of, like we just said, the catalog and all that stuff. Well, I guess arguably some people might say, well, that is how he managed the leverage, by getting all these loans. But when you own $500 million at the time of your death, and then your estate, that passes on. But in his case, the good thing that I found out was all these troubles, all these woes he had while he was alive. When he actually passed, his estate did undergo like a major financial restructuring to settle his debts and secure his legacy. So whoever took over it, Mama Jackson or whoever, everybody they hire, all the legal, all the teams. And we're going to talk about that later too. As I talk about a lot of these topics and we go on, I will bring more and more guests to build upon some of the information, because knowing information about using your talents as leverage and getting the money and getting the things without understanding how to make it all work paper-wise, legally and all that, it doesn't matter. So later we will do that. So obviously here, this is what kicked into gear. When his estate passed on, they did that financial restructuring, which means you had the professionals that had to do that. They settled debts, which means you had, I'm sure, legal and stuff to negotiate what that would look like. And they made sure they secured his legacy. And so since his death, his estate has earned over $2 billion. So that definitely shows that effective estate management and strategic financial planning and understanding the leverage and all that you can recover. But before I bring our guest on, because it's here, and that's what I want to do, I want to end off on the second person. When I, compare the two, I look at Rihanna now, right? I just seen something come across my phone the other day where she was ranked top 2 or something to Billboard. I'm like, what? She stays in it. She stays in it. Even when she's not making music, everybody wants to know, when are you gonna put out a song? That's all they'll post. If she posts something about her business, they're all talking about, when are you gonna put out music? And what we need to do is step back and look at the plan. We need to study, right? This is someone who is using talent. This is someone who is using leverage, because she knew that music wasn't, that's not it. That's not lifelong financial security. We're all given some type of gift to open up more and more and more doors. The question that's going to be asked of you is, what did you do with this talent I gave you? What did you do? Did you multiply it, or did you keep it and say, this is the talent that I have, and I figure to hold on to it? Or did you use that talent to be fruitful, right? And so she used her talent, opened up so many doors. From makeup hair, fashion, all types of stuff, doing the deals with LVMH, doing all the things to say, I'm solidifying this. I'm using my leverage, because not only did she do this, she made sure she did it when she's hot, right? While Rihanna's good and she's up, because as soon as she launched her line, Fenty Beauty, she had massive success from the get-go. From the get-go. Why does that happen? Because of the leverage that she actually used. So she used a talent to be fruitful and to multiply. And she's in the billions too, right? So I believe Fenty right now is estimated to be worth about $2.8 billion. She owns 50% of that. She owns 50% of that. She has actually two companies that she is partnered with. And the Savage times Fenty, she owns 30% of that. So when you look at that, that's understanding leverage. And that's understanding, even when everybody else wants to be entertained, I could do that on my own terms when I want. I don't have to go out, tour, take medicine. If I'm in pain, do things when I want. I am creating a life with leverage, and that's what we all need to do. And this person I'm going to bring on right now, Carlos, is here. Going to talk about that because Carlos, he is a veteran PR and marketing executive. He's the CEO of Envision Marketing. That's N, the letter N, Envision Marketing, Inc. And over the last 2 decades, his PR and marketing firm have represented a diverse pool of clients. This diverse and shiny clients. This includes 9 Olympic gold medalists, 5 Super Bowl champions, NBA and WNBA stars, Hollywood actors, Grammy-winning artists, best-selling authors, and other notable figures. But his company, Envision, they also consult Fortune 500 companies. You see why I said everything crosses? When I represent athletes, entertainers, entrepreneurs, it all crosses. And they consult with Fortune 500 companies, national not-for-profits, government agencies, and politicians in various areas. Talent procurement, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've heard that flying around, right? Media crisis management. Everyone needs that, especially if you're in front of the camera, right? Or if you just live in a high-profile life that can be written about. Just crisis management is big. But Carlos has been interviewed by CNN, CNBC, Essence, ESPN Radio, Fox Sports, Sports Illustrated, Sports Business Journal, Adweek, News Nations, and other national and international news. He's a big deal. And not just national news, but media outlets that provide expert insight on breaking news or trending topics. So this is a huge honor to have him here for you. And this is how we continue to level up. And not only should you take advantage of asking those questions and listening, but also connecting. What I want to do is bring individuals on here where you can connect with, and he's coming to the stage right now, where you can connect with and see where it goes. See how you can start changing your life. And when we change one life at a time, we change this world, especially in these industries, especially. Carlos, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And yourself?
I am doing awesome. Listen, especially with you here, I got to give you applause. Hold on.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I had to clap it up. I'm doing amazing. This is my happy space. We have some individuals that are tuning in from various platforms. I do encourage you all, if you want to really engage, come on over to YouTube. You can do it on Facebook, but we have, Carlos, some that's on Instagram, so you'll see me looking over here sometime to try to see if I can catch comments. I can't guarantee you all I'll catch comments on Instagram. So if you really want to engage, come on over. So you'll see me look over there sometime for that. But we have them on Instagram, we have them on Facebook, YouTube, and on LinkedIn. All right. So, let's get into it. I don't know how much you were able to hear. I talked about, just gave an example of Michael Jackson's story about,
I did a case study on that actually, and James Brown, probably about years ago, actually. Mm-hmm.
What did you find when you did that case study? Because I actually was a part of something where James Brown's daughters were there and they were talking about some stuff they were going through at that time. But what did you find?
Good friends of mine. They are buddies of mine. Deanna and her sister.
Yes.
And ironically, I've booked both of them on national TV interviews. Unfortunately, it was after the untimely deaths of people like Prince, and then before when Whitney Houston passed. But the topic, ironically, was synergetic around what you're talking about, is their estate, and from a standpoint of managing the pitfalls and curves and everything that they were going to have to be dealing with as it revolved around, James Brown had a lot of kids. and so having all of these different moving pieces, trying to get one piece of that pie, and then you're still trying to elevate the brand and protect the brand, which is why you end up with deals like the late, great Muhammad Ali. Before he passed, him and his wife, they actually did a deal where they actually sold the rights to his likeness, name, and image for hundreds of millions of dollars. And people say, why would you do that? Well, he is, by all accounts, one of the most recognized people of our lifetime, and for various reasons, for various aspects of his life. But towards the end, it was more of a celebratory. And so, you got companies like, I believe, like Under Armour, like different brands that have paid to use the licensing of his name, image, and likeness rather, for those type of deals. And like you said about Rihanna, I heard the tail end about Rihanna. She could care less probably about putting out another album, as much money as she making off this Fenty brand right now. And she got these two small kids. And think about it, as a mother of two young children under 3, you want to jump on a tour bus and grind it out around across the country, or do you want to put together a team, put out some product, and let those email alerts pop off that from your accountant several times a week or whatever about the millions, and in her case almost billions that you're making. So but before you even get there, it starts with building your brand to the point that your brand is trusted and valued enough that you can monetize it. I say pre-Tiger Woods, pre-incident, with his wife, finding out that he had all those discretions. But hey, before that,
media crisis.
There was probably, and as a matter of fact, one of my media crisis hits was on CNN out of London. When that all happened, I was interviewed, I think, by Matt Lauer, just a lot of different people in reference to how that was going to affect his brand viability, with all these endorsements and sponsorship responsibilities and things of that nature. And before that, he had for the most part, a pretty squeaky clean, family image and so forth. And so, but all these things matter. You have to protect your brand, but more importantly, you have to be true to your brand and be true to who you are. So, but anyway.
No, that is good, because that's a good place to start, because everything that we do comes from our name, image, or likeness. It comes from nowhere
Yes.
else. So,
Right.
like you said, building that a trustworthy one, and then once you do that, that's how you start building leverage, because it's trustworthy, and then there's some type of talent that's coming out from that, right? Whatever that talent may mean. For athletes, of course, it may be whatever sport, entertainers, creatives. As business owners, it's a talent of whatever you are creating to offer this world that you took, that didn't exist, and you brought it in. But reputation definitely matters, because you get certain platforms. So let's go back a little bit. When you talk about build this reputable, I use brand for lack of better word, of your
Yes,
name, image, and likeness, what does that look like? What does that mean?
It varies from industry to industry and from talent to talent. You know, you take, for example, an NFL player or NBA player versus a recording artist versus a actor, or possibly even, let's say, somebody who is an author, right? Nonetheless, let's keep the main thing the main thing. If you are a professional athlete, the main thing that people are going to recognize you for, i.e. LeBron, is your talent on the court. Now, while you have their attention, so to speak, now you can use your platform to bring awareness to other worthy causes and organizations, or you can do like some of the athletes and entertainers are doing, and starting their own 501c3 not-for-profits and championing different causes. But as I always tell any potential client when they call us about wanting to represent them, I say, what do you want? And I hate to sound morbid, but what do you want to be said about you at your eulogy or on your tombstone? Because everything that we do is about helping clients to elevate their brand in a way that's engaging, enlightening, entertaining, but more importantly, effective, right? I call it the 4 E's. But at the same time, you want to be true to who you are. You can't be all things to all people, right? And I start with, what are the causes that, or personal issues that might not get a lot of pub, but now you just won a Super Bowl, you just won an Olympic gold medal, you just did something of a magnificent accomplishment. And so everybody got that microphone and that camera in your face. What do you now want to utilize that platform to bring light to, right? I think you mentioned LeBron. LeBron, excuse me, LeBron he's one of one from a standpoint of, he came in the game and understood early that the importance of giving back. He's got his foundation. The man even has a school. You know what I'm saying? So guess what? As talented as he is off on the court, State Farm, Nike, Coca-Cola, all these different brands, they value him off the court because of his philanthropic endeavors. He's a family man. You know, obviously he's a loving husband and supportive father and all that. So these brands, they want to market their product to the demographic that you reach, but they also want to stay clear of public figures that are, for lack of a better term, problematic. You know what I mean? Because they don't want that they don't want to be flooded with their shareholders and stockholders being flooded with the negative reports, which can knock their stock value down. Okay. But ultimately, it's all about us showing them how to present the best version of themselves. We're not into trying to change people and make them appear to be something that they're not. All we do is clean up what, for lack of a better term, the rough edges, so to speak. You know, do some media coaching training and public speaking training, and we're also involved in some of the styling and image consulting, making sure that they are dressed appropriately and all that. But helping them to put their best foot forward so that they can be most marketable, right? And as you continue to achieve whatever success in your profession, mirrored with who you appear to be in your personal life, or you're off to when you're not doing whatever your talent is, you have no choice in a lot of cases but for your stock to rise. You know what I mean? Because people are going to see you. I often tell people, if you're a father, don't hide the fact that you're a father. If you're a husband, don't hide the fact that if you're a wife, be who you are in all facets of your life, because what happens is you never know who you attract to your circle or to be fans of yours based upon where they align with you. You know what I mean? Some people might not be the biggest basketball fans, but you might got a guy that says, hey man, I'm a father, I got a little girl, I got 2 boys, and they actually might be become LeBron fans more so because they watch how supportive he is of his children than they are because he's all-time leading scorer in the NBA. But if you don't put yourself in a situation for your authentic self to be shown and broadcast, so to speak, to the public and the media, then you're cheating yourself out of an opportunity to allow your fans and supporters. I like the word supporters more than fans. Fan is short for fanatic. Yeah. And so but for your supporters to authentically show up for you in however way that means, that resonates with them.
I like that you said that you have a conversation.
Hello?
Uh-oh. Did I lose
you? Now I hear you.
Okay. Where do you see yourself going? Like, what do you want to do? Because sometimes we're thinking like right here, I have this talent, I'm doing this, or I'm going for this specific opportunity or job, but we're not thinking about the long term. Although I am someone who believes stay in the present, be present, but you have to have, like as an athlete, as a track athlete, I would say, okay, I'm looking all the way out and I know that I want to make it to the final. So I have to look what I want to do and come all the way back in and do those things in the present. So I'd like you having those conversations. Is that something that you see a lot that they didn't think about? It's an aha moment when you have a conversation with talent about this is your talent, but what is it bigger that you want to see? And I think that's a gem for those who's listening to really think about what you have now, but what is it bigger?
Yeah, it depends on the personality. Yeah, it depends. I've had from all over. I've had people that heard me with that presentation and was like, oh man, I didn't think about that, okay, whatever. And then I've had people that took a negative kind of approach to it, like, oh, I don't care about 10 years from now, I'm just worried about now. And that is problematic for so many reasons, because you have to, I mean, you're a former athlete, is what you have a short window of opportunity to strike, right? And so everything that you're doing in that short window is to set you up to the day that you hang up the cleats, or the day that you no longer playing ball, or whatever the case may be, right? So with that being said, I like what you said about Rihanna. She struck these deals while she was hot. She didn't wait till 3, 4, 5 years after she down the road and she's no longer, she struck those deals while you're hot. And so I try to get athletes, especially athletes, to become more business minded from a standpoint of going to the Super Bowl week, because there are so many brands and corporate executives there, right? Same thing with the All-Star weekends. Same thing, even with the Olympics. That is a great opportunity to go and network with some of these decision makers and check writers and allow them to get a chance to like shake your hand in person, to see you, because I can put together the most spiffy sponsorship deck with all the great pictures, all the great links, and they got your stats and all that. But that doesn't tell them who you really are in totality. There's nothing like looking a man or woman in the face, shaking their hand, having a conversation, and then they're like, hey, this is a real oh, you know what? There are a lot more. I can't tell you how many times I've taken a client somewhere like that, and the next day or a couple of days later or a week, I get a call, a text, or whatever, and that person, that executive, tells me, say, hey, I'm glad you brought your client by our event. You know, I'll be honest, before I got a chance to meet him, I just thought, you know, hey, he's just another athlete. But no, I get it. He's the real deal. I like how he, you know, engaged with us. His conversation was very respectful. He was intent. You know, all of those little subtle things matter, because if they're going to invest millions of dollars into making you one of their official brand ambassadors, they're going to do some of their due diligence and research and background and whatever to make sure that you are who you say you are, and that there's no hidden things that they want to find out at the wrong time. So having an opportunity to meet these people in person while you're hot, while you're still playing, pays off dividends. I know numerous athletes or former athletes that when you talk to them, they started this journey when they were still playing. You know, ironically, the late great oh my God, I just
He's a
had
basketball player.
Yes, oh my God, and I just saw his
Kobe. No.
Well, Kobe as well, but yeah, Kobe started a lot of his endeavors, whether that was the sports drink that he invested in, whether that was his production company, all this while he was still playing. And remember, I don't think it was a year after he retired, he won an Oscar, remember?
Right.
You know? And
Right.
so, but no, but the other person, he just passed, he owned over, I think, 300 Wendy's and all this stuff. And he was, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain fart. And I know you know as well, but he played with Indiana Pacers and, Milwaukee Bucks, but he ended up now owning Ebony Magazine. And, but he just passed away, not even 2 weeks ago. And he made Walter Bridgeforth. I mean, not Walter Bridgeforth. But Mr. Bridgman, who was the basketball player, played 11 or so years, had a solid career, but he started working in the off season at Wendy's, learning how to work the what you call it, the behind the scenes. And then he eventually started owning, I think he said he bought 5 initially in very poor sides of Milwaukee. And then later he ended up owning some crazy number, like 300 Wendy's franchises and other franchises. And then about a year and a half or so ago, they actually bought Ebony. They're the current owners of the iconic magazine, Ebony Magazine. But I'm saying that to say he made way more money after his NBA career than he did during his career, you know? And the same can be said even for Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson has made way more money after his playing day, and he was one of the top players in the NBA at that time. But and then he overcame, obviously, the HIV diagnosis and all that, to now being, he's totally bounced back from that, and it is one of the most respected and regarded people on earth. Everybody loves Magic, so.
Right. And even more than making a lot of money, like you said, handling a lot of business. It is not just the money, but what do you do with individuals who say, I don't care about 10 years from now? Because this is the thing. We are all a business. Everything is a business. Everything is a business, how you are providing
Mhm.
that service or product. So you wouldn't hear, well, you probably would, but one that is successful in achieving goals, because success is defined differently, but successful in achieving goals, you wouldn't hear a business owner, entrepreneur say, I don't care about 5 years, 2 years. So what do you do about athletes, entertainers, creatives, anybody's, I don't care about the future. You're a business. Like, or do you just say that's your personality and you walk, how do you handle someone who's not thinking about the business of themselves?
To be perfectly honest and just totally transparent, if this is something they've said before we sign on the dotted line or whatever, to be perfectly honest, I would probably respectfully decline to work with them. And I you know, we don't just sign everybody that calls. We've had to turn down some people that are very popular. They got a lot of money, but at the end of the day, there were just different red flags. I'm a man of faith. There's different moral things that, and I always say this: when me or anybody on my team, when we send out an email, it's coming from @envisionmarketinginc.com. It's not coming from sexydirtyred69@gmail. It's not coming from, it's coming from a brand that like you said, I've worked over 2 decades to build. So with that being said, anybody that we represent has to be somebody that we have some semblance of pride and belief in. It starts with their belief. I got to believe in the brand that you want me to represent and our team, because then I have to, because there's a lot of advocating and fighting. You know, you represent talent. So, you know, there's a lot of jockeying, so to speak, and going to bat sometimes for clients. A lot of times, you'd be told, when the person on the other end of that phone or that email or that text or that or what have you, they might initially, for whatever reason, they might not get it. And so what you have to do is, obviously in a respectful manner, is find creative ways to kind of recircle and kind of make them see what you saw. And so then you might highlight certain aspects about their personal, who they are as a person, or whatever case may be, or some latest accomplishment or whatever. So they say, oh, you did get the email that they just won, you know, the Walter Payton Award or the humanitarian award. Like, you know, because you never assume that the people that you emailed or sent this nice package to, that they read everything. To be perfectly honest, sometimes they don't. And so sometimes when you're having these conversations and you're reiterating this information that is already there that you've sent them, sometimes that the very fact that you've reiterated it, now it makes it present. It's like, oh, I didn't, you know what, to be perfectly honest, I might have skimmed over that. I might have passed it in passing, but oh, tell me more about that. And so now you got them dialed in, and now it's like, oh, wait a minute. This is why you say that we should be, exactly, because it's bigger than just them being, you know, Olympic gold medalist or Super Bowl champion or New York Times bestseller or whatever their talent is. They actually have other intangible traits about them, and that will make them just even more valuable to you. And that's the thing, you got to do it. Everything we do is about making our clients their brand value. You know, what is your intrinsic value that you bring to the table? You know, and it can't only be, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're the CMO or Pepsi or whatever, they can Google whatever your stats are and get that information in less than 5 seconds. But what's going to make them want to become and get in business with you are the other moving pieces that they may not be as aware of. They might not be aware that you're the national spokesperson for the American Cancer Society because you lost your grandmother to cancer, and but they might not know that you work with the Parkinson's Disease Foundation because your father had Parkinson's. You know, so all of those various different things about you away from the actual talent that you have, that's what makes you that much more valuable when they see the whole picture. I'm not just a PR marketing executive. I'm a single father of a son that has autism. I'm a son. I'm an uncle. I'm a brother. I'm a member of my church for the last 21 years. There's so many aspects of who I am, and that's the biggest thing that we try to get these celebrities or public figures to understand. Don't hang your hat so much only on the talent side, because one day you might hang it up and transition. And when you do transition, the life that you've built and the network of people that you've met along the way, those are the people that are going to put you in a position to continue winning, you know. And so that's what I really love about working with specifically like athletes, entertainers, or whatever, especially when they're new and they're bright-eyed and they just, you know, they're more apt to listen because they don't know anything. It's like, hey, they want you because you've
They
been to the
hungry, ready to
mountaintop.
go. Yeah.
They want exactly. And so, you know, it helps when you've represented you know, like I said, 5, you know, Super Bowl champions and over 10 first-round draft picks in various drafts. And so they're like, wait a minute. Oh, he knows the process. Him and his team. Yes, we know the process. So if I tell you to do XYZ, or if I tell you not to do XYZ, I'm not saying this for any personal slant towards you. I'm telling you this for your own benefit. And so, because everything that we do is for the benefit of our clients, because we do see, as you say, the long-term effect. You know what I mean?
And I agree with you. I wanted to go back quick because I don't represent everybody that reaches out either, because it has to be fair to each other. I have to make sure I'm adding value to you. And also my name, my brand, my company is also going on you as well. Because one thing that's really quick for anyone in any industry, if they say no to you or it's this way and you move the way they move, and then it ends up the way you say it's going to end up anyway, no one takes ownership in that. It's back on your lap too. So I'm like, yeah, no. And this situation is going to be a no, because I know how it will end up, but I can refer you to someone who's, you know, probably more interested in getting the money than they are in anything else, but I'm not the one. But you did bring up something that's a huge grab that I hope that you put down that people are picking up, is the Gmail thing too, right? So because we are a business, because whatever industry you are in now, as sometimes people may say, okay, it's fine, I'm not even really looking at it. They're not looking at it because they expect for you to still be right here. But when you post it, when you have that conversation to keep going up, 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 every little detail is being looked at. And when you have people advocating for you like we do, I have to advocate a great situation, a great package to higher we go. From Gmail matters versus a .com. All the little small things they look at is how they're gaining a perception about who you are and what level your mindset is on. It's the smallest things.
Right. And this, I can't tell you, I've been in rooms and we're sitting amongst various people. You know how sometimes you go to events and you got somebody over here that's, you know, braggadocious. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Okay, whatever. And so, and then they give you a card or they give you the information, and it's a Gmail, a Hotmail, and it's not even a professional one. It's Pookie one. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how little do you value your own brand that you didn't even invest in just having a business email? You don't have to have a website per se, you know, but at least a business email that says, okay, hey, I don't want to represent myself in a negative light, nor do I want to represent my clients in a negative light. So I'm going to invest in having a professional email so that if somebody wants to do business, even if it's just info@whatever.com, it just ain't got, it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but it just, and then when they left, the person that was sitting next to me commented
Yes.
on it, like, wait a minute, didn't he just say that he was supposed to be
Yes.
doing something with Jay-Z? He's supposed to be doing such and
Yes.
such, whatever. And his email is so and so. I don't know. I don't know about that. And so, like you said, it's that those subtle things that matter.
No. Yes, that is. And like, I want to get to Vanna's question, because like you said, it's when you get up and leave, or if you're not present in the room, what people say to us. And I mean, there's some things that said. So a lot of times when I'm sharing things, or even like now on the platform, I'm giving stuff not just from, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. I'm really talking about experiential, from conversations of why people are either getting taken advantage of. And the reason why I put quotes is because at some point we have the website, we could do research, we can do things, because I'm one person to say you only know what you know, but now we keep hearing more stories. It should make you want to dig more, to ask more questions. But you're taking advantage of, or you putting yourself in a situation that you really just focus on this, and then when it don't go that way, all of a sudden the antennas are up. But they know who to do what to based on that interaction and the conversations that are being had when you're not around. So Vonda asks, how do you feel about the pushback when a celebrity tried to take advantage of their notoriety, like LeBron with his son? Like the guest said, that could be encouraging thing to other entertainers. So how do you feel about that? But nepotism is in everything. Remember, this is a business, but go ahead.
Ooh, wow. This will be my first public. I've had some conversations with some of my friends at ESPN, Sports Illustrated, whatever, and when you're in this business, you got to build that cachet, that relationship, with the media. And I'll say publicly what I've said privately, and that is there's two aspects of that. Stephen A. Smith has a job to do, okay? And his job is to report and analyze professional athletes. Bronny is a professional athlete. The caveat to that is he's also LeBron James Jr., right? And the reality is, and I think we can all say this, and there's no slight against Bronny. I think he's a great young man. But if his name wasn't LeBron James Jr., I don't think that he would not be a rookie this year in the NBA. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. How many people do you know that average 4 points a game in college come out to be drafted that aren't 7 feet tall? Now you might see a 7-footer, but a barely 6'1" guard that played half the year because of, unfortunately because of his heart situation. And it's not like when he came back, he was averaging 30 points. I think he averaged, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say something like 4 points a game. So there isn't a lot of, in any situation, most situations, you would not advise a kid that averaged 4 points a game to put your hat into going out to the draft. Okay? So, and the part that Stephen A. Said that some people have problem is LeBron kind of put his son in this situation by pretty much going to the management and letting them know, hey, y'all want me to sign this extension? The only way I'm gonna stay is if y'all draft Bronny. There were no other teams looking to draft LeBron James Jr. I mean, it just would, that's why he was like second from the last or something, like he was like the 56th, something like that draft pick, So because there wasn't a high stock on him, and not from a standpoint of we don't think the kid can play, we just feel like he needs more development, more time, and he could have benefited from playing at USC this year or whatever, or even the G League or whatever. But, you know, come on. But LeBron, you know, being who LeBron is, was like, hey, that's my son. Keep my son name out your mouth. But hey, that's kind of unfair for you to take that kind of stance when the reality is you kind of unfairly put your son in this situation by, you know, hey, we're trying to make history. And I understand that. On one end, I applaud the fact that he was able to get his son drafted because you said something key. You said a word, nepotism. Do you know how many coaches are on benches right now because of nepotism, favoritism, all kind of isms, and or they have jobs, high-paying jobs at these with the NFL, NBA, you name it, because they're the son of so and so and so, or they're the brother of so and so, whatever. So I just think that this is the rare occasion where nepotism actually benefited somebody that looked like us. We're not accustomed to nepotism benefiting us. We just aren't, you know. But it is what it is. I think Stephen A. handled it as well as what you could, and he, you know, tried to add some, you know, context to what he was saying. But those of us who aren't just LeBron stands and just LeBron can do nothing wrong understand exactly what it did. He wasn't taking anything negative or disparaging about Bronny. Bronny is a professional athlete. Anybody else that was having the numbers that Bronny was having this year, nobody would have a problem if they said he needs to stay in the G League and just try to get his development. LeBron is the one that had the issue because he said that, you know, it is what it is. And plus, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. Stephen A. and LeBron, and this actually bugs me a little bit. Stephen A. does not have a relationship with LeBron, but he does with Rich Paul and Maverick and whatever. And that's, to me, that's problematic from a standpoint. You got the biggest sports analysts, whatever, in the game, not having a relationship with the biggest star in the game. Yeah. But, you know, hey, and none of us are perfect. And, you know, LeBron is who he is, and he doesn't have the thickest of skin. And so, you know, it is what it is.
Well, first of all, I want to back up because that was a good question, Vonda, because I don't know if y'all caught that. Carlos said, this is my first public statement on it. So if anybody ever asks on CNN or somewhere else, Seek Elevation got it first. But I agree, right? I definitely agree with the whole, how you just so shocked, LeBron, that Stephen A. would say this. I agree to that point. But where I get it, though, Carlos, is we're talking about leverage. That is our conversation. How do you go from fame to ownership and building leverage? Well, leverage is how you bridge that gap. And like you just said, this may be a rare occasion, but that's the point of getting leverage, is to use it to position yourself and others. It's not new. Everyone's doing it. You know, you and DEI, there's a whole different conversation there. Yeah. The reason why it was this created because of this situation from affirmative action. Everybody's trying to get positions because they didn't have leverage. They don't come from that situation where there's a leverage to put them in the seat, walk into somebody's, you know, company. Right. That is the thing. We're building leverage so we can do the don't hate the game. I mean, hate the players. Get mad at the game if you can't position yourself. So I get Bronny. And like you said, maybe went to a college to do this or college to do that. But isn't the goal for those who don't have leverage, I have to do that in order to get here. But if you don't have to do that, you're building leverage. That's what we want it for. We don't want it to say, hey, I want to be, you know.
No. This leverage, he built his leverage to the point that he could take make an NBA team, one that he was playing on, mind you, draft his son. That is
Heavy
the
leverage.
ultimate level.
Like you said, that's extension though. There was other conversation. And see, that's another thing. Don't just have leverage. Know when to throw it out on the table. Know how to use it and how to move it around. I mean, and so the goal is, in order to start having some fight in the game, I mean, that is what the focus would be. Like for me, everything I do, I'm focusing on how do I continue to build strong leverage, because that's going to change conversations. That's going to change decisions. And it's not just for me. It's for those that come along with me. And the more the leverage grows, the more I'm going to use it for those who come along with me. I mean, that's what I want it for. But it says, let's see, how do you make the choice on how to build that family legacy? So how do you make the choice on how you build a family legacy? I guess that goes to the LeBron question. The choice on how you build. Oh, I'm thinking, saying, okay, well, if you're not going to use nepotism, then like, so if it was one of those situations where he shouldn't have done it, then how it goes, I guess, back to the comment I just made. So how are you going to build family legacy if the leverage situation and using your leverage for nepotism and other things is an issue? How do you build that family legacy?
Well, that's kind of a broad question, because there's so many areas that you can go in that, whether you're talking about generational wealth, whether you're talking about opportunities afforded to your child that, behind the scenes that, pretty much most people won't know about. But in this case, you can't hide the fact that your son was drafted by an NBA team that you just so happen to play on. Now, I'm all for history. I'm a little bit of a history buff, a big history buff, to be perfectly honest. And the fact that him and his son were able to accomplish that, oh my gosh, I know what that feels like. I had a client that they made history. Him and his father, who was one of my best friends, they became the first father-son duo to ever be drafted out of high school in the first round in the MLB draft. Delino DeShields and his son Delino, and that was such an epic moment for so many various reasons, because there had been other, you got Ken Griffey and his dad, and you got the Alous, you got Barry Bonds and his dad, you got all these different, father-son combinations, but none of them before Delino and Big Lino had ever come right out of high school and became first round draft picks. And so I know about making historical accomplishments, right? But at the same time, as a father, you want to also protect your child. And I think there are ways I feel like he could have helped his son still get to the NBA, but in a way that it wasn't so, how can I say, so glaringly obvious that it was because of nepotism. Because it goes back to what doesn't add up. I cannot in recent history or ever recall a guard that averaged 4 points a game in college being drafted. So you're setting your son up to be the target of all kind of, vitriol, hate, and whatever. It's like, oh, he don't deserve that. And so, and then it didn't help that initially Bronny struggled. Now the other night he had a game.
Yeah, I saw
he had 17 points, which is, that was great, whatever. But that was, pretty much an anomaly in the stance that, for the most part, in the NBA, and playing up, he hasn't played that well. Now he has been playing. I give him his credit. He's been balling out in the G League. He really, I got to give the young brother. He's figured that out. He's been playing great in the G League. But with all the injuries they had the other night, even LeBron didn't play that night. Bronny had to play. He played, I think, 30 minutes, which was the most he's ever played, and he had 17 points. Now, I'm not foolish enough to say to go ahead and think that if Bronny played 30 minutes a night, that he's going to average 17 points. No, that one game in garbage time, whatever scoring, I'm not going to get ready to put him in the Hall of Fame just yet, as Bill Parcells used to say. But I do feel like the kid has talent, and then he has a work ethic, and on top of that too, he's got resources that you and I just don't have, right?
And
That's right. The resources. He's got the resources of his father as well as the Lakers organization, that they're going to put him in a position to get better. And they clearly have been seeing something from him in practice at these G League games or something, to the point that they feel like, hey, we got all these injuries tonight. We're gonna insert Bronny, let him, play significant time, and it worked out, whatever. But like you said, it's all about building that legacy. And I think for me, when I think legacy, it's always about, like what I said at the beginning, what do you want people to say when they eulogize you? Do you want them to say that you were one of the best that ever did it, that you had, that you were compassionate, that you had a big heart, or do you want them to say, oh, he was the most selfish prick that I've ever met in my life. He didn't care about anybody else. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about what do you want your legacy to be? Some people care more about their legacy than others. LeBron is one of those. I mean, LeBron is very interesting for a lot of reasons that don't even involve basketball, to be perfectly honest. But he is definitely very calculated in everything that he does. And he's very aware of where he sits on that kind of basketball Mount Rushmore. And we start talking about the GOAT and all that, those talks. And so I feel like matter of fact, I feel like that's the reason why he's still playing at 40, because he's chasing the ghost of Michael Jordan, right? And, when people ask me who I think is the GOAT, I said, well, it's Michael Jordan even said it's kind of subjective, right? Because you got, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, his era. You got Jordan, his era. And you got LeBron, his era. You got all these different eras. You got Dr. J in his era. But at the end of the day, I also say you can't lose 6 of anything and be considered the greatest of anything. You can't lose 6 NBA finals and win 4, but you be considered the greatest. Michael Jordan is undefeated in all 6 of his finals that but it is what it is. LeBron has stayed around to accomplish several things that he wanted. One, he wanted that scoring, that number one, number one scoring list, right? He did that. Then the other night, matter of fact, I think he went over 50,000 the other night. So that's another plateau. 2, LeBron said it a couple of years ago that he wanted to stay around and he wanted to play with his son. Now, I'll be honest. When he said that, I was like, yeah, right. I'll be honest. I was like, man, because I think Bronny was just, I think he was a junior at the time or whatever. So I'm like, I just don't see it. But building up that, like you said, that leverage that he had, it was at the time when they needed to negotiate whether or not he was going to stay, and he pretty much went to the brass and told them his plan. Now, with him being who he is, they agreed to said plan and took Bronny in the second round.
Yep.
You got to give it up to the man.
Yeah, and Anthony totally agrees with you. I love it. I want it to be in the face. Just because you hide it doesn't make it right. Like, so we accept things because we don't see something. I want it to be seen because
Mhm.
this is why. Let me tell you why. It always takes there's a lot more people that are out here that say, I'll believe it when I see it. They don't have hope because they don't see themselves
Mm.
in a position that can do or accomplish certain things. So when it's always hidden, there's a disassociation that there's something possible for you. I want things to be seen so it can go in through the eyes, into the fabric of the mind and the brain, so people can start hoping and visualizing totally different. So please bring it out. I love that he did. It was like the person who, you know, they couldn't break a 4-minute mile. It took the person to break it, and all of a sudden, it just records was breaking. So LeBron James broke the 4-minute mile. So now the next one. Don't do it behind scenes because we need to start seeing what leverage does.
Right.
That's why I love it for those things. It could be all these other things, but because my mindset is about effectuating change, I love the pieces in what's going on right now that can help effectuate change. There was something I was from your experience for the viewers. So now, what are some of the things that you would say are priority? If you did your top 5 for them to put themselves in a position, especially public relations, marketing, to get these relationships, for people to be even interested in having a conversation. What are some things that need to be in order? So we already know professional front facing, right? We already know, like you just said, like email, don't change up the Gmail situation. But even if you change that .com, don't go do PookieOnTheRoof.com, right? Because that's who they think you are, Pookie on the Roof. You got to do whatever. Then the second thing I heard you say, and this may not be part of the 5, so no, I'll go. What would you say?
As somebody in my position, or you just mean just in general?
If somebody in your position giving advice to those in a position of artist, entertainer, athlete, what are some things that you need to think about if you're trying to really position yourself to get these breakthroughs, to be able to be on television, be able to get these deals, whatever?
Got you. There's no I in team. Let me say that again. There's no I in team, right? One of my favorite actors is Denzel Washington, right? For a variety of reasons. If you want to book Denzel to be in, let's say you wrote a script, right? Bomb script. Everybody, oh man, this script. Ella, she did her thing. This script is amazing. You're not gonna call up Denzel himself directly about the script. You're gonna go to his agent, who he's hired to vet these opportunities. Teamwork makes the dream work, right? And you have to have a good team around you, you know, and a team preferably of experts who've been to the mountaintop and that are battle tested, and they have your best interest. Now, sometimes I get asked this question, sometimes ironically, as it relates to LeBron, and you know how, you know, one of his best friends is Rich Paul, who is now his agent. And I say, the reality is LeBron and his team, Maverick, Randy, and all of them, they're doing well now. But because I've been doing this as long as I first met LeBron when he was 16, okay? Through my friends at Nike who took me to this tournament and said I had to see him, and I was like, wow. They ain't always been the astute businessmen. They had some fumbles for some years where they were not the consummate professionals. I'm just gonna say that. But guess what? They ended up getting some key kind of mentors, if you will, in the game, like a Steve Stout, like my man Larry at Nike, and just some other key people that kind of took them under their wing. And now Rich Paul is without a doubt probably one of the baddest agents, definitely one of the most powerful from a standpoint of like that leverage, right? His roster has granted him obviously LeBron being the number one, but LeBron, Anthony Davis, all these, all these different star athletes that he has underneath his roster has now given Clutch the ante up, if you will, to now they can now broker deals for some of their other athletes because they have that cachet.
Yep.
But get a great, surround yourself with a great publicist, a great agent, and then as well as everybody needs that one, what I call right hand woman or right hand guy, somebody that has no ego and that is all about elevating you to be like your, for lack of a better term, your executive assistant or body person, as we sometimes say in the business. That if you're trying to reach so and so, you gotta, like, there's certain people. If you're trying to reach Michael Jordan, I know I gotta call XYZ because that's his body person, and and then also, and I know this might sound kind of whatever, this isn't a relationship, but the most valuable decision that a man or woman will ever make is their spouse. Make sure that you are choosing a life partner that loves you for you, that if you never picked up the ball again or whatever, y'all still gonna be thick as thieves. And B, that isn't going to do anything to embarrass you. And somebody would think I'm the biggest LeBron fan by saying it, but I hate him. LeBron's wife, Savannah, she could write a book on how to conduct yourself. She's been in that limelight, been, right there with him since high school, right? And she ain't never embarrassed that man yet. You understand what I'm saying? So it makes a difference when you have people in your family, people in your circle, professionally and non-professionally, that all buy in to make you look good because they want to protect you at all costs. And a lot of these guys don't, and women, because it represent women too, they just don't, some of them just don't have people in their corner that really honestly care about them. And it's really sad when it's a family member and or somebody that, like, maybe you grew up with and you've brought them along, but you don't know it, but they actually behind the scenes actually hating on you. You know what I'm saying? I've seen that happen. I've seen
Yes.
that happen. And so it's very important, but you got to have a team. LeBron, look at Steph Curry, right? Steph Curry, obviously he's second generation NBA, right? But he's got a wife, he's got a mom, dad, sister, brother, friends. He's got a great circle around him, a great agent, and all of those people. If you notice, like, Steph hasn't been involved in any major negative media crisis, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because the people around him have formed this cocoon around him that they're going to protect him at all costs. But on top of that, Steph is also built different, where he's a very humble young guy. He doesn't have a big entourage of people. I've seen him on numerous occasions on the plane by himself, mind you, in first class, but by himself, no entourage, no security, or whatever. And this is one of the most recognizable one of the baddest basketball players on the planet. But that just goes to show you just how he's wired, how he was raised. You understand what I'm saying? And so but yeah, you got to have people that care enough about you, and hopefully, and then sometimes you get people that they lack the experience, but what they lack in the experience, they're going to make up for it in their tenacity, work ethic, and their integrity. And I think Rich Paul, that's what happened with him. He didn't know anything about being an agent, and when he got under the understudy of Leon Rose, who was LeBron's second agent, that's when he became a sponge. Because, matter of fact, I'm gonna say it's probably public knowledge now, but that's the reason why LeBron cut ties with his first agent, Aaron Goodwin, his brother, because Aaron had no interest in taking Rich Paul under his wing to show him the ropes or do whatever. And to be perfectly honest, just being transparent, I can't blame Aaron for feeling that way from a standpoint of, you got a kid 18, 19 years old, and went to nobody college, and the only thing on his resume is he's LeBron's friend. So at least show me something other than the fact that you LeBron's friend. You know, have you went to college? Have you gotten a degree? Have you done, do whatever? So, but anyway, LeBron used his leverage to negotiate with his next agent, and he told him that he was only going to sign with him with the understanding that he would take one of his friends, Rich Paul, under his wing. Rich was under his wing for several years, learned everything he needed to know about the CBA and about whatever. And when he felt like he had gotten, his wings, he left on his own, and the rest is history.
Yeah, I read that in the book where he said, I thought it was with CAA or WME, somewhere he put him in, and then they left. But then I must say, that's 2 dubs for LeBron, right? Right. So listen, using that leverage for what's unexpected for the son, right, using the leverage for what's unexpected for Rich Paul. Rich Paul turns out, like you just said, to be one of the best. So that goes back to our American standard, or the world standard, I should say now. Like, did he need a resume? That resume was in his heart. That resume was in his mind. And like you said, LeBron James is a very strategic person. He knows. So he's not going to pick someone. He's not going to pick someone that he didn't think, like you said, he's strategic, not just because this is my friend, but this is my friend that comes along with all the things I need: authenticity, trust, loyalty, and all this. But he has that capability. I need to put him under the right person. So that is a gem within itself. Huh?
He saw something in Rich.
In Rich, other than no resumes needed. All that, because let's be honest. We see the people that we see them in a room. They have a long list of resume. You could have an amazing GPA, went to the best schools, and you are a fool. Yeah. You don't. I can run circles around you. That stuff is not always the measuring stick. It may be the thing to get you in somewhere, but what is your makeup? That is the best resume that there is. So I love when things like this happen. So, I mean, you don't just go get anybody and you don't have the makeup, but if they have that makeup, then good. Use your leverage to say, maybe he couldn't be in his position to get these things on paper, but he could play.
He saw something with Rich, and I've had the opportunity to have dinner with Rich and some, and spend some time around him. He is a very likable, charismatic guy. He's street smart. He's got what I call those intangibles that LeBron obviously saw, and he's a hustler by nature. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation, because you do need that hustler mentality.
That grit.
Right. And I think when, to get out the mud, and I think also what also catapulted Rich was he knew that there was a bullseye on him and the whole team. Oh, that's just LeBron and crew. So I think he works even that much harder to dispel that whole notion of they only doing stuff because LeBron is like, no, he's a grinder. He works. You know what I'm saying? And so now look at him and even Maverick. So, but you got to have that team. You got to have, and then you have to have vision for yourself. Because if you don't have any vision for yourself, then you basically become the blind leading the blind. You're just moving aimlessly. And I've seen, we're both mature enough, been around long enough to see our fair share of athletes that were, oh my God, they were doing this, they were doing, and had great careers. And now the same house that they bought their mama when they got drafted, now they got to live in the basement of that house. You know what I'm saying? And it's because they didn't take advantage of meeting those executives or developing a business plan or exit strategy. And so now all they've ever known was ball. So no one invested into them. Hey, what's your business plan after you stop playing? What do you want to continue this lifestyle? Okay, what do you need to do in order to continue living this lifestyle? Are you making the right investments? Are you making, do you have business endeavors that you want to go into? Like Kobe Bryant invested into Body Armor, and that paid out handsomely when Coca-Cola bought, that. You know what I'm saying? So, but if Kobe didn't have the insight and the savvy and the business acumen to say, look, I need to invest in things that are in my world, and from a different vantage point, because at the end of the day, Kobe, has had endorsements and been ambassador. So he's like, look, the sports beverage industry is wide open. Why not invest in the next big thing, and then maybe put my money and my brand behind it, and now look at it, so, but it takes, as I often tell clients, we can't want it for you better than you want it for yourself. You got to want it better than me and anybody on your team. You got to want it. And matter of fact, when I see clients that are working hard and going and doing the extra, that automatically makes me want to do extra, because it's like, oh, I see them going extra mile, I'm gonna go extra mile. So and when people see that you have that work ethic, tenacity, and that you aren't resting on your laurels, it automatically makes the people that aren't lazy, it makes them want to do more, because they see that you're doing more, so.
I love it. I mean, so it's the common thread. So it's one vision. You started off with that earlier when you said you had that conversation. You sit down where you see yourself at. So we have vision is needed. I mean, that's what we were given anyway. We were given a vision in order for us to use our name, image, and likeness to bring that vision and transmute it into reality. Then you need that grit. You need, that you have to want it. You're finding individuals, the place around you, to elevate what you already want. You're not putting people around you to insert something that you don't have. It's I have this thing I really want, and I'm surrounding myself around people to get it. And that is a huge one right there, is relationship. No one has achieved the highest of their goals doing it in a silo. You need relationship, but more importantly, you need a relationship of those that you can trust, like you said. You hit the nail on the head with friends or family or whatever. You have some that secretly hate. And sometimes it just feels like it's an indictment to them, right? Your thing is an indictment to them of what they don't have. Whereas we have to unravel that and say, this may be my connection to the thing that I can get, right? So if we start looking at that too, is that this person was blessed to be put in my life for this, and or that was your season and it's over, especially if you're friends. But we have to look at, if you have something to give someone, give it. Find those people relationship-wise. Don't let it just be by title, because like you said, the energy from life partner, whether it's life partner, spouse. It could be girlfriend. Let's just go all the way down.
Right.
Think about the young kid with Deion Sanders. This whole thing blew up. That's a whole nother conversation. But anyone that you're around, right? Because we are energy. If they're sucking the energy out, that energy can't be deposited in those other things that help you build up or leverage. So like you said, relationship, those around you, and then also front facing. Understand that you are now our business too. How you present yourself out to the world, what you put out is how they're understanding how to receive you or to perceive you, both ways.
And be willing to learn. Don't forget that too. And be willing to learn. You never take the attitude that you know everything. You got to be willing to learn and be a student of not just the game, but a student of life, because some of the most biggest lessons and most valuable lessons that I've ever learned from my mentors hasn't always been about necessarily the X's and O's or how to be a PR marketing executive, but more in life, because I valued that they were great husbands, great fathers, great men in the community. So like, how do you balance all of that? So I think you have to be willing to learn from other people, and young or old, because you can learn a lot from the young generation, because they're of this new technology and they know how to get on to the TikToks and whatever, and just all this new technology, AI and all these other things, right? So as you learn and you become a sponge, that only helps you as far as your to be able to stay around and be relevant. You know what I mean? And a lot of the athletes specifically, that is probably their number one thing that they suffer with is relevance post-career. Like, because they focus so much on, I'm a football player, I'm a baseball, I'm a basketball, whatever. So when they are no longer playing, they struggle with an identity, because when they were playing, they didn't seek those other opportunities. They didn't have, other interests and so forth, whatever. It is what it is. And so I think you have to be, I think with the younger athletes that I work with and entertainers or whatever, I'm really focused on trying to help them to be the best version of themselves and to be well-rounded individuals. Even my conversations with them, we talk about the business, whatever, but when you have the type of one-on-one downtime with these people, whether it's on plane rides or long drive, whatever, I'm very intentional about having meaningful dialogue with them, A, to let them know that I'm here, B, to kind of be a sponge or an outlet, rather, that they can kind of voice their displeasure, because on the outside, he just signed a $100 million deal. And guess what? Everybody in his family is going to remind him that he signed a $100 million deal. So that's another stress in itself. So, but I think we have to do a better job. When I say we, as adults, coaches, mentors, publicists, whatever, we have to do a better job from the Little League, AAU, high school, of developing young men and women to be whole-rounded individuals, and not just trying to get that fast 40 time, trying to get them to, to get that jump shot right. That's all good, fine and dandy. But at some time point or another, they're no longer going to be able to hit that jump shot. They're no longer going to be able to run that 40. They're no longer going to be able to make them tackles. And if you didn't spend time when they were 13, 14, 16, 18, now you got NILs in like a lot of states now where kids in high school can make money. So we need to start having these conversations about finances a lot earlier than what we used to, because again, a lot of these people are just making bad decisions because the people in their corner that had their ear didn't pour into them the way that they should have. Sometimes it's for selfish reasons. Like, well, I'm not going to talk to him about so-and-so because I want him to take me on this next trip. he going to Puerto Rico or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, it is what it is.
Oh, well, that's it. You're right. I do want to say one thing before we wrap up. A big part about relationship is that's where a breakthrough. We talking about breakthrough. Sometimes people work so hard and they're like, the breakthrough didn't happen. It could be that person you're connected to. That's how it happens a lot of times. So that's why it's important to put people around you and also build relationships and let people see you and not just be a deck, a beautiful deck, like you said, but they sit with you and say, they push your deck out the way, everybody else who sent their deck, and they seen you as a real person. So build those relationships. Thank you so much, Carlos, for your time. Thank you so much for your insight. Thank you all for your engagement as well. This is real estate. This is what people will see over and over again. And then I believe the right people at the right time see it then too. I appreciate you. Your time is extremely valuable. Absolutely. So to all, that is a wrap for today's episode of the Seek Elevation Experience. Again, thank you for tuning in, engaging, and adding value to this powerful conversation. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow, the more you learn, the more you earn. But what's most important, the more you share, when you share, the more you show you care. So don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Make sure you spread what was just talked about. Spread the wisdom, tag a friend, and let us all elevate together. Until next time, keep striving, keep growing, and most importantly, keep elevating. See you next time. Peace and progress.
Salute to you too.
Salute. Stay right there, Carlos. Hold on.